In this video, we're going to look at how we can determine what kind of polynomial we have and the degree of a polynomial, as well as write it in standard form. First of all, we're going to look at what makes up a monomial, which is what makes up each term of a polynomial is a monomial. A monomial is a number or a variable, or it's the product or multiplication of a number with one or more variables with whole number exponents. You don't want to have exponents that are negative. You don't want to have exponents that are fractions. So you see we have three examples of monomials. We have 2x, we have 3y squared, and we have negative 2xy to the third. One example that you don't see here is one that's just a number. So we could add an example of the number 8 would also be considered a monomial because it is a number. The degree of a monomial of a single variable term, meaning that there's only one variable in the term, is the value of the whole number exponent for the variable. So for example, we have the degree of 2x is, we would want to look at, well, what is the exponent of the variable? I don't see an exponent right now on x. When I don't see that exponent, I understand it's to be a 1. So that degree is going to be 1. Over here we have the degree of 3y squared is, the variable is y, its exponent is 2, therefore the degree of that term is 2. So let's take a look at these three examples. We have negative 4x. So just like the example 2x, its exponent is 1, therefore its degree is 1. We have 5x to the third. The exponent on the variable x is 3, so the degree is 3. For negative 15, we do not see a variable, so let's just give it a variable x. In order for a variable to not be shown, that would mean its exponent is 0. That means its degree is 0. So when you have a constant term with no variable, its degree is actually 0. A polynomial can be a monomial, or as poly implies, multiple monomials, which we would describe as being a sum of monomials. And each monomial then is called a term in that polynomial. Now the ones that we're most familiar with are polynomials with 2 terms, and the prefix that goes with 2 is bi. So we have a binomial has 2 terms. A polynomial with 3 terms, the prefix that goes with 3 is tri, so a trinomial is a polynomial with 3 terms. The degree of a polynomial is the greatest degree of its terms. In other words, it's the greatest exponent of any of its terms. So for example, we have the polynomial 2x squared plus 6x minus 9. The largest exponent in this polynomial is 2. Therefore, the degree of that polynomial is 2. Even though this has more than 3 terms, it's still a polynomial. We just don't have a specific name for it. So we just call it a polynomial. Its largest exponent is 3. So its degree is 3. And polynomials can be written in what we call standard form. Standard form is when you write your terms in order from largest exponent to smallest exponent in order from left to right. So we have an example of a polynomial that's not in standard form, and as you can see, the exponents are all mixed up. They're not in any specific order. We even have the constant in the middle. In standard form, Our first term has the largest exponent. The last term is the constant. It's the term without the variable. Remember, that term could have a variable. Its exponent would just be 0. And when you have an exponent or a base to 0, that's essentially the value of 1, and that's why it's not written. The leading coefficient is the coefficient of the first term when written in standard form. That is very important. If you want to know the leading coefficient of a polynomial, it must be written in standard form. So if we go back to this polynomial, we don't see a number in front of our first term. Well, if I think about, well, what can I take times x to the third and still have the value of x to the third? That would be the number 1. So my leading coefficient in this polynomial would be a 1. If I had a number there, the number that is written there would be the leading coefficient. So let's practice writing these polynomials in standard form. What you want to do is identify the term with the largest exponent. In this case, it's 9x squared. So I start by writing 9x squared. Then you find the term with the next largest exponent, which is this 2x. Now be careful, you have a subtraction in front of that 2x. That minus sign goes with the 2x because it's directly in front of it. And then our only remaining term is this minus 8. So you write subtract 8. For our next polynomial, again, we start with our largest exponent. Not only is it 3x squared, but we have the subtraction in front of it, so it's minus 3x squared or negative 3x squared. But then you see we have a 3x and we have a minus 4x. We've got like terms. So if we're simplifying an expression, we would combine 3x with minus 4x, which is a minus 1x or just minus x, plus 2. So if you have terms that have the same degree, if they have the same exponent, go ahead and combine them when writing in standard form. And finally, we're going to practice writing in standard form. We're going to identify the degree, and we're going to classify the type. So standard form, write it with the largest exponent first. You have 7a squared plus 3. It has a degree of 2 because it has an exponent of 2 as its largest exponent. And then its type, it has 2 terms. So this is called a binomial. Example B, the term with the largest exponent is 2b to the 4th. The next largest exponent is the 2, so minus b squared. And then we have 6b. It has a degree of 4. And this polynomial has 3 terms, so it is called a trinomial. And last, standard form, well, it's a monomial, so it's just going to be itself, 12c to the 5th. Its degree, we only have the 1 exponent, so its degree is 5, and it's the 1 term, and the prefix for 1 is mono, so it's a monomial. If you have a polynomial that has more than 3 terms to it, we will just call it a polynomial. The only ones we will classify as being something special will be a monomial, a binomial, or a trinomial. Anything else will be called a polynomial.